As the Minister for Health, Mental Health and Ambulance Services and Minister for Women, Shannon Fentiman is focused on delivering world-class health services close to home for all Queenslanders. She has already taken bold steps to drive better hospital performance, increase access to mental health services, and put the health needs of women and girls at the centre. Looking to the future, Shannon is determined to work with frontline health staff to build a sustainable and resilient workforce that will care for Queenslanders for decades to come. Please make her very welcome as she makes her way to the stage to address you today.
Thank you. I'll give you that one. Thank you. Well, hello, good morning. I'm absolutely delighted to be joining you for your conference. Can I start also by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal and Yagara peoples, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And also acknowledge First Nations QNMU members with us today. And Uncle Bob, thank you so much for your welcome to country. It's lovely to see you. Can I also acknowledge the wonderful work of QNMU President Sally Ann Jones, Vice President Lucinda Maskell, Secretary Sarah Beeman, and Assistant Secretary Grant Burton. Thank you so much for your very kind invitation to join you today. It's absolutely wonderful to be here with all of you. The dedication that you show in providing life-saving care to our patients and communities is valuable beyond measure. I have seen it make a real difference in the lives of so many Queenslanders. I thank you for the work that you do each and every day. Nursing and midwifery are among the most dynamic, challenging, and rewarding roles in health. And the essential nature of your role, it demands that your voices be represented, and they are vital in shaping Queensland's future. Voicing your insights and experiences through the QNMU are key to making decisions as the Minister for Health, and it's so important, the relationship that I have with the QNMU and all of you as I travel around Queensland. It really means a lot to me that we can have very frank conversations, but also, I think, working together to create so much meaningful change for you in the work that you do, but ultimately for our patients. I know the devastation that you all felt way back in 2012 under Campbell Newman. We came into government to really repair a lot of that damage. You know, so many health workers lost their job. And 1,800 nurses and midwives lost their job. And I also know that it's fresh in your mind as we come up to an election. I was actually door knocking in my community in Underwood just last weekend, and I came across Beck. She's a nurse educator, she told me. She works at the RBWH, and she's recently taken shifts also at Logan Hospital. And one of the key reasons she did that was that she was worried that if the LNP get in again, she wanted to have shifts at 2 different hospital and health services. So if it all went terribly wrong at one, she had some shifts at another. And I know how devastating that time was, and I also know that it is fresh in your minds again in the lead up to October. And I just wanted to, take a moment to reflect on that with each of you, because I think together, the Labor government, along with the QNMU and all of you, have achieved some really wonderful things for your profession and for Queenslanders. And we have worked tirelessly really to win back your confidence since that time and employ so many more of you, but also to listen to the suggestions that have come from the front line to strengthen our system. Since 2015, we've hired 24,000 health workers, including over 14,000 nurses and midwives. And we have delivered a policy agenda which is unapologetically focused on empowering nurses and midwives to work at your full scope of practice. We started this at, come on. First speech, bit of energy. And of course, one of the first things we did back in 2016 was when our government was the fourth in the world, we legislated nurse to patient ratios. And we know this pioneering step has saved lives. And that's why we've expanded these ratios into acute mental health wards and public aged care. And I will always prioritise putting more nurses on our wards because it is good for your workloads, but it is even better for patient outcomes. And because they've worked, we have now legislated midwife to patient ratios. An Australian first, and we're counting the babies. Can I say it was my first day? I literally came from Government House and was sworn in as the Minister for Health, and I went to RBWH and I met some of your delegates and members, and they sat down and we sat in the coffee shop and they said, you know, we don't count the babies as patients. And I was like, what? So, you know, within the space of a year, we have changed that, and that is testament to your advocacy. What I've heard from the QNMU and nurses on the front line is that you are very keen to work to your top of scope of practice, and we are continuing to deliver more opportunities for you to do that. We've broadened scope of practice in areas like endoscopy and colonoscopy, as well as hiring more wonderful nurse practitioners in our system. And most excitingly, we announced 4 nurse-led clinics for Queensland, which I know you love, and I think Queenslanders are going to love. But again, I want to say it's something that the LNP has used. So again, I want you to know that it is the Labor government that is really focused on making sure you have the opportunities to work in the model of care that you want, and also to work at the top of your scope. And so far, when we've gone around and announced these wonderful clinics, I have to say, patients, families are so excited that there can be a walk-in centre, no appointment needed, and wonderful nurses to help them when they need health care. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really disappointed that the LNP have labelled these as failed health policy. But I know, having visited the clinics in the ACT and spoken to so many of you, that these are going to be a great success for families right across the state. And the Premier and I, later this morning, will be announcing that the final 2, so we've announced one in Brisbane City, in Gladstone, there'll be one at Mount Gravatt and in Gympie as well. So very exciting stuff. We know that empowering our midwives is very critical for patient outcomes, which is why we are committed to ensuring that midwives can also work to the top of their practice. Has some midwives down the back there, love it. The women of Queensland have been very clear that they want continuity of care, they want it close to home, and they want choice. And that is exactly what we have embarked on together. Our $16 million investment to expand midwifery group practice means that Queensland, by far and away, leads the nation when it comes to access to MGP. I also know that is the model of care that so many of our midwives want to work in. So Queensland is leading the way, with MGP being provided now to about 25% for births, compared to 14% nationally. So again, Queensland is really leading the way. Our practitioners love it, our midwives, obstetricians, GPOs, because it is a model that works. This is the model that is in place now at Weipa, where after 25 years, babies are being born again. It's very exciting. Beautiful baby Vin was born in the first week of the restored service, and the lesson from Weipa, I think, is that when we have the right facilities, the right leadership, and the right models of care, we can attract the specialists to some of the most remote parts of our state. I'm also confident that everyone in this room understands that access to safe, quality termination of pregnancy care is a human right. We're investing $41.8 million to make sure that women are able to freely and safely make informed sexual and reproductive health choices without barriers. You may be aware that $20 million has been allocated to our hospital and health services to employ up to 20 full-time equivalent nurses, midwives and social workers to boost the termination of pregnancy workforce. And again, I'm pleased to say, Queensland is leading the way. We were the first state in the country to introduce legislation to allow nurse practitioners and midwives and certain nurses the ability to administer termination of pregnancy drugs such as MS two-step, which previously was only available through a GP. I've also been really pleased to work with you on our workforce strategy. It's a $1.7 billion health workforce strategy, and it really was all built on the feedback that I've received from clinicians. At Townsville, I heard from a fantastic group of registered nurses from the QNMU, Jo, Katie, Tom, Michael, Cheryl, Curtis, Ashley and Vanessa, who told me that we needed to support nursing students through their placements and early careers, and that we needed to do more to protect staff from occupational violence. In Cairns, I heard from Linda, Mandy and Riley, some of our amazing nurse unit managers, who told me we needed to do more to retain our amazing frontline health workforce, as well as attract the new staff. And in Rockhampton, I heard from midwife Friday King that we need to do more to support locals to access primary care to support nurses and midwives working in our hospitals. And I'm pleased to say we have listened to all of these amazing QNMU members and more. With an investment of $1 billion under the strategy, we will have an additional 2,600 nurses and midwives in the coming financial year. That is a huge boost to the workforce. There's also some really great work to boost the pipeline of nurse practitioners to support nurses again to work at the top of their scope. We have invested almost $40 million to address occupational violence, including support for new nurse ambassadors across Queensland. We're expanding our $5,000 placement allowance that will support regional, rural and remote nursing and midwifery students to do their placements closer to home. And we have done all of that because we know that empowering nurses and midwives means delivering real solutions to the challenges that we face. Unfortunately, the LNP, and I know that you'll be hearing from Ros Bates later this week, think that we can empower nurses and midwives by delivering real-time data. That is their one and only policy when it comes to health. And when I hear about this real-time data, I often think of Girlie, the patient flow nurse at Rocky Hospital. Her job is to make sure the sickest patients are seen quickly and discharged when they're ready to go home. Real-time data isn't going to help Girlie. She knows how busy she is. What she needs is resources, she needs beds, she needs models of care that attract and retain clinicians, she needs more support to keep up her education and grow her skills and get time off to do the all-important professional development and education that means a lot to her. She needs our initiatives around patient flow. She needs our investment around long-stay patients so we can actually move them out of the hospital and move patients through the hospitals. She needs our investments about rapid access clinics so that patients don't have to keep returning to the emergency department. She needs more nurses in her waiting room to help triage. She needs more transit lounges to help people get out of the hospital quicker. These are all of the things we are doing to support you in a system that is under pressure. And I really get so frustrated, when I hear the LNP talk about their one big investment as health is real-time data. And I think that is not going to help you on your wards in the ED doing what you do every day. The huge investment we are making in your workforce, the huge investment we are making so that you can work at the top of your scope of practice is what is going to retain our current workforce and attract the new clinicians. The LNP have not committed $1 single to a health initiative. The organisation that Ros Bates is a member of, NPAC, is something I also want to talk to you about, because they have started a campaign to sack 18,000 health administrators in Queensland. They're saying we need to sack these health administrators to pay for more nurses and midwives. Whereas our government is saying, you need to be supported, you need health administrators to help you in your job, and we need more of you. Why wouldn't we do both? Yeah. This policy would guard our managerial and clerical staff across Queensland Health, sacking entire teams of receptionists, clinical coders, information management teams and payroll officers. Not only would this send the entire system into chaos, it would place all of the burden of work on you. And I want to be really honest with you. Our government would never do this because we believe nurses and midwives belong on the wards providing care to patients, not having to do the work that other health administrators currently do. But clearly, this is the campaign that NPAC are running, and the Shadow Health spokesperson is a member of that organisation. So this is a very real possibility. We also know Stephen Bennett, who's a member up in Bundaberg, in Bargara, has said that we need to, quote, break the back of unrealistic employee entitlements for nurses and midwives. He put that on social media. He is a very senior member of the LNP, and I just need you to know I will be holding them to account for everything they say and everything they do between now and the election so that Queenslanders know what might be coming after October 26. So to close today, I just want to thank each and every one of you for your tireless work, the work that you do each and every day, and for your continued commitment to the health and wellbeing of Queenslanders. I know you're going to have a remarkable conference. I know there's going to be plenty more asks coming out of this conference, but that's okay with me because I have to tell you, every time I've sat down with the QNMU or met with members like yourself and heard your very practical, sensible solutions for meeting some of the pressures our system is under, to be honest, we've acted on it and it has made a difference. So bring on your ideas and your solutions. I am very, very happy to continue working with you. You are a credit to Queensland, and I will keep working hard to make sure you're respected and valued for the work that you do. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Yeah, thank you. I need a stool as well. Might be a work health and safety issue. So I have the pleasure now of asking Shannon a number of questions. These questions have been developed in collaboration with staff and council, and I feel like you've answered some of them already in your speech, but I'm going to go there because, team, the questions I asked Shannon, I'm actually also going to ask Ros. So let's do this. All right. First question. The Queensland Health Workforce Strategy to 2032 projects 59,252 FTE of nurses and midwives will need to be employed by Queensland Health by 2032. That's an increase from 40,471 in 2023, or the equivalent of an additional 18,781. So, we need 2,086 FTE per year to meet demand. Will you commit to ensuring these numbers are permanently employed by the required timeframe, and that there will be no loss of FTE under your government? And what will be your strategy to grow the workforce?
Yes. So I think the strategy is pretty clear. We need to value all of you in the system and make sure, as I said, that you are getting what you need to feel like you want to stay and continue to give back. And that was the message I heard loud and clear as I travelled around the state for our workforce strategy. The biggest piece of feedback I got was that when things get busy and you can't fill your rosters, the thing that goes is that time for skill development and professional development and that, ongoing nurse education. And so, we have a lot in that workforce strategy about making sure that that's a priority for our hospital and health services, that you do get that ongoing education. So we need to retain all of you and make you feel valued. We need to then attract clinicians from interstate and overseas. We're going really well with our workforce attraction incentive. We've had over 1,000 people come to Queensland, and particularly regional Queensland. And then we need to train up the next generation. Free TAFE for nursing is a fantastic start. Again, we have that cost of living allowance for regional and rural placements. And again, how great was it the federal government is finally paying nurses to do their placements. That is a great initiative.
and for the record, also matched by the state government.
Yeah.
All right. We have 7 more questions. I was going to say, and it's eating into my time, but given that I'm nervous, Shannon can have some of my time. So, minimum nurse and midwife to patient ratios and the business planning framework are 2 key tools to manage nursing and midwifery resources across Queensland Health to keep patients safe. Will you commit to maintaining all current legislative and industrial mechanisms that manage nursing and midwifery workloads, and also to expanding minimum ratios to other areas of Queensland Health where they are not yet legislated?
Yes, we love ratios. So again, you have seen us continually roll out ratios to those places where they haven't been, and we're very happy to keep working on you to do that. And again, with the midwifery to patient ratios, all of that work happening now, we also have a commitment to make sure, at the moment, obviously, we're doing levels 5 and 6. We also have a commitment to get to levels 4 and 3 in a staged way, and I know the chief midwife is working on that right now.
And I'm acknowledging the aged care people down the front. So I also want to say Shannon has control over the state. We are lobbying the feds around the federal aged care ratio. So, we'll hold Minister Wells to account on that one too. All right. All right, you're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. The QNMU is the only registered union that covers nurses and midwives in Queensland. The evidence shows that union members have better wages and workplace conditions and a voice and influence over their working lives. Will you commit to retaining the registered union encouragement and collective industrial relations clause in the instruments, including legislation, and including registered union encouragement provisions, and retaining industrial relations and consultative forums in our EB12 enterprise agreement?
Absolutely. Most of you will know that before I was in politics, I was an employment lawyer, and I actually did a lot of work for the QNMU. And some doctors and some other public servants and a whole range of people, but this is really near and dear to my heart. I was an industrial officer at the AMWU as a young lawyer. This is something I'm really passionate about. And there is only one registered union, and that is the QNMU, and that will never change under a Labor government.
Now, I've been given the hurry up, so we're going to go straight to the last question.
Oh.
Do you think there should be more oversight of the private hospital sector, and if so, what would that look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Currently in Queensland, the Chief Health Officer has oversight for licensing our private hospitals, and of course there's a whole lot of regulation that they need to follow, very similar to our public hospitals. Obviously, I'm very passionate about making sure that we continue to invest in our public system, and can I just say, the public system really is picking up a lot of the slack that we are seeing from the private sector that is continuing to reduce. So in Cairns, for example, they closed the private maternity. We have given the Cairns, the wonderful Mary, the midwife there, and her team a whole lot more resources to cater for those women. And part of the reason why less women were going to the private hospital was that the public system up there was providing such a wonderful service. They had midwifery group practice, the midwives there were doing a wonderful job. But it does place pressure on our public system. So we will continue to invest to grow our public system, and I'm very happy to work with you on what more we can do to make sure there is better oversight for our private hospitals.
Thank you, everyone. Please join me in giving Shannon a very big round of applause. We do appreciate her time.
Thank you.